Welcome to Hill and Dale, and this Age of Empires forecasted game spawning in the southwest corner of the map in teal is Corvinus 1 playing as the Malians. Today, his opponent will be none other than Kaup, spawning in the northeast in red as the English. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Hill and Dale. And, well, this matchup is going to be an interesting one. The match should be an interesting one because it's been recommended to me by a viewer, which is something I really appreciate. I think as time goes on, as I cast more and more games, it would be really helpful and amazing if you guys can make suggestions of games you've seen, maybe briefly about on, say, a Twitch stream or something like that. If you think you've come across a good game that could be, worth casting, do let me know. Drop a comment in the comment section below, or even better still, DM me on Discord, something like that. I'll leave a link to my Discord in the comment section below, or the video description rather. And jump in, just highlight any games you think could be good content. It's very difficult to find these games on your own. Sifting through hundreds of games just to find good games, because I don't want to cast any old game. We want to have entertaining ones, so I really appreciate guys helping out in that regard. But today with this matchup on Hill and Dale, it's an interesting one. The English obviously have lots of options to them. They can go for a fast feudal age rushing, aggression, but on Hill and Dale, something that this map is, I have to say, this map can be very toxic at times. The ability to just camp out, and the English civilization is one of those civilizations that can do it really well. It's actually going to be the Abbey of the King landmark, so we're going to be expecting maybe a long game, because the thing about this landmark, it doesn't do any damage nice and early. There's not going to be huge amounts of feudal age aggression, usually, unless you drop stables and archery ranges. But the council hall traditionally is the landmark for the English that really signals the aggression, pumping out those longbows. On the other side of things, the Malians are going to be going down for the Mansa Quarry. So again, the landmark which kind of has the longevity. It's the landmark that really is powerful if it's a late game, if it's a long game. Trade could be an option for the Malians, but really these days it seems to be it's cow booming. That seems to be the real powerhouse aspect of the Malians at the moment. They used to be able to build that Farimba garrison, pile a lot of pressure in the castle age, but on a map like Hill and Dale, where it's very difficult to do damage, the middle part is pretty open. You can kind of go through there sometimes. It's pretty lucky spawn in that regard because of the wood lines. Sometimes the wood lines actually slap bang in the middle and actually cuts off half of the entrance. There's a pretty wide entrance on the front. On the left side, a pretty narrow entrance, and same on the right side, as you'd expect on Hill and Dale. Very easy to wall up. I'm sure Kaup will be doing that. But the good thing about the Malians go to the castle age is it does give them the opportunity to develop some map control. And if they get those veteran soffers on the map, secure the relics is quite important on this map if it goes quite late. But the dynamic of this matchup, it's an interesting one. It can be a bit frustrating at times, primarily because of the English. They're such a defensive powerhouse that go for defensive landmarks, White Tower, Berkshire Palace. These are things you tend to want to do, especially when you go for two town centers. So it's unlikely that it will go for the King's Palace, which is essentially the castle age landmarks that gives them another town center, because it's going to get two town centers anyway. So it's going to go two town center, probably into White Tower to nullify any sort of aggression that can come from the Malians. And because of the narrow choke points, like a White Tower here, it means that the entrance is impossible, right? Because, Salami can't really, or I say Salami, Corvinus, his new name, it's very difficult to come through here. The middle of the map, of the base rather, the town center's there, and obviously a White Tower here would just be devastating. That would only leave the edges, but it's a long way around the hills to get there. So it's very difficult to do a lot of damage if you go for that approach. Two town center. Don't forget the second town center as well will act as a static defense. So the English are very hard to push in this map, and for many reasons I actually think it's a very toxic civilization in some ways with that playstyle. And you can't blame them. It's what the civilization is designed to do, and it's down to the map, to be honest. It's primarily because of the map. Like, you couldn't do that on Dry Arabia. It's a little bit easier to pressure, and so we talked about this narrow choke point not being an entry path, and this town center really makes sure of that. The Malians being difficult to put huge amounts of pressure early, it does mean that they're going to have to rely on the mid game, the mid to late game castle age. I think, to be honest, against the English, really the strategy here has to be sacred sites. Civilizations which do not prioritize map control or map presence like the English, you have to make them punished. You have to punish them for that, right? And that's exactly what the sacred sites are designed to do. The sacred sites are there to draw players into the mid map and to draw them players into the middle of, well, the map pretty much. And it means that civilizations like the Malians, which can't do what the English do, which is camp out and defend incredibly well, it means that the malians could take advantage of that, right? If they can get sacred sites, it's a win condition, activate a timer. It's an option for them. And I think that's got to be the play, especially with the 2 town center English. The English are not going to be moving out anytime soon. He's made absolutely no units at this point. And because of that, it means that he's going to be playing a very campy game. And, you know, 6-7 minutes on the clock. If it was a straight fast castle for Corvinus, you know, he could be getting some of those imams out to get those relics and also the sacred sites. You can see the cow boom already starting. So in the castle age, we should be expecting to see the Grand Fulani Coral, the landmark which actually boosts the amount of food income coming in from the cows. Now, what's interesting to think about is actually the comparison between the cow boom and the farming boom for the English. The farming is incredibly strong for the English. Great source of food, but the cow booming is not so bad themselves. It's just, I don't think it's quite as strong, but it's not too terrible either. So it will keep up a little bit. The concern for the Malians as well is that if they do go for that castle age, relatively earlier castle age, he's going to be at a villager deficit, right? Because the villager count is going to be higher for the English. He's already got 2 town centers up and running. That villager lead will be building up, and it means that Kaup will have this really big power spike in terms of economy, like in the mid to late game, because, you know, the villagers will gather those resources will be, you know, pumped into military, and that'd be incredibly strong. One good thing about the Malians, though, is that, you know, the scouts are often a unit very strong for them, the warrior scout, and it does make sense for them to often go for the upgrade to bring those deer in, as the you can see he's already got professional scouts. That's what it's called. Now, it has to be said that another really interesting consideration for this matchup is the gold. So the Malians, they actually have access to the pit mine. That can be a constant gold generation for them, especially because they generally have map control, map presence with their scouts. You should be able to get a lot of these pit mines actually on the field. There's quite a lot of gold veins, has to be said. But speaking of, like, passive gold generation, well, the English can actually get that with the upgrades from the mill, of course, the enclosures technology, where the farms actually generate gold, which is incredibly strong in the Imperial Age. And I think this is probably one of the toxic strategies that they can do, because without this tech, they would be forced to go out onto the map, because on Hill and Dale even, the map actually only really has one major gold in the base, and it's only 4,000 gold. There's not actually a lot of gold inside the base, and so, you know, with gold units being so strong, you'd actually need to get out onto the field to be able to, you know, fund strong units, but not unless you have enclosures. So the ability for Kaup just to camp out here, to get to the Imperial Age, get enclosures and just farm away, he'll have basically unlimited source of food and gold, and he'll be able to get a really strong unit composition, like whether it be knights or man-at-arms. And the problem with this matchup against the Malians in particular, the man-at-arms is going to be incredible, because, like, the Malians don't actually have a ranged counter to the man-at-arms. A lot of the other civilizations actually have crossbows, or arbalètrière if you're the French. The trouble for the Malians is they don't have that option. They simply don't get crossbows. They do get the Musafadi warriors, which can be pretty strong, especially activating stealth, but the Musafadi warriors are very, very weak to archers, and, well, guess what the English do very well? They do very well with longbows. So I think a man-at-arms longbow composition here for Kaup, going for a fast Imperial Age, it's a bit broken, I think, because there's no reason for him to get out into the mid-map, except for one thing. And I think this is what's going to be the key to this match. It's going to be the sacred sites. Because if Kaup is going to stay in his base, which he has already so far, and he's not really ventured out at all. He's got this 2,400 stone vein to take, and he's got the walls up already on the west side. He's making no intention of moving out to the mid-map. And because of that, he's got 2 town centers, plenty of villages in advance. There's that castle age for the Malians, so he's going to have that food income boosted. As you can see, nearby cattle provide 20 food per minute. But as we were saying, I think really the win condition here for Corvinus has got to be those sacred sites. I would love to see him actually get those sacred sites super early, because that will force, that's the only reason why Kaup would need to get under the mid-map, right? To deny those sacred sites. He's actually gone for a 3rd town center, so he is super booming it up. It's got to be the White Tower for the castle age, it's got to be, right? The real concern is that the castle age time is actually not that far behind. It's only just now that Corvinus has gone to the castle age. There's a big window of opportunity. And the thing is, he's gone for a cow boom, right? And the cow boom is just not going to simply match 3 town centers. No matter how good that cow boom is, 3 town centers is, there's a lot of villagers. He's almost double the number of villagers, and I mean, before too long, Kalba's going to be able to afford Imperial Age. If he just gets a lot more farms down, he'll be sorted. I mean, will he even have to venture out? I mean, the crazy thing about it, when you think about it, is that 4,000 gold there in the main base, it means that he could technically actually get Imperial Age without moving outside of his base. Obviously, if he's not going to make any gold units. And the concern of that is that if he goes for the Berkshire Palace, like, there's no way that that's getting pushed. And so because that's going to be very difficult for Corvinus to actually deliver a killer blow in the main base, it's got to be the Sacred Sites. It's also a bit of a concern he's got none of the relics. Like he's got to that castle age a little bit ahead of his opponent and he's not making it count. When you get to the tech up, you want that to count for something. The only thing he's really getting out of it is the Grand Filani Coral. And that's kind of it at this point. No wheelbarrow yet. He's getting it now. As you can see, he's going to pile on some pressure with 9 of the warrior scouts, just to probably get some scouting information more than anything. But with that white tower position and the 3 town centers, like, how does this get pushed? And I have to admit, this civilization is a bit broken on the Hill and Dale, because it looks as though Count might be edging towards that Imperial Age. Look how much gold he's got, and he's not spending a single dime of it. That's the key bit of detail. The fact that he's not spending any of it, he's actually got enough gold for the Imperial Age. All he needs now is food. Food and wood. And there's enough wood here to sustain that farming economy, or at least to, establish it. This is a really weird game. It's very passive, but there's a lot to talk about, which is kind of strange, right? I usually expect that games that have a lot of military presence have a lot to talk about, but even just strategizing. I actually enjoy this kind of casting nowadays. I used to do a lot of play-by-play casting, but I think now talking about strategy is something that's quite unique. I don't think a lot of casters actually do that at this point. A lot of commentators just commentate on what's actually happening, which obviously is a big part of it. But to talk about and theorize and, I guess, theory craft about what could be done is pretty nice to do. Especially when you've got sort of the free time in the games, not lots happening. I mean, I think at this point, Corvinus needs to pile on some sort of pressure. He's kind of half the villager count, and let's just take a look at what he knows about in terms of information. So he would have seen that 3rd TC. I think the spectator's a bit bugged. He doesn't know about the 3rd TC though. So he has no idea that's happening. And that lack of information might hurt him a little bit. I'm a bit surprised to see no other pit mines, and none of the sacred sites or the relics have been picked up. Especially when he has so much map control. And I think that's an oversight. I think because of that, Corvinus might struggle. It's almost looking like he's going to try and match boom for boom. And whilst the food income he's actually doing a pretty good job of it, actually. Like, food income wise. I mean, not anymore. Just a couple of seconds ago, it was pretty neck and neck, but he's like 500 food per minute behind now. And it's because of the farming transition. The farming is so cheap for the English, and he's just seeding them like nobody's business. And he's going to go to the Imperial Age pretty soon, actually. This is a pretty crazy fast Imperial Age. I mean, I think he probably gets there before 16 minutes. He's probably going to rush down to Berkshire Palace, and he's also got a keep as well. So, I mean, this could actually be done faster, to be fair, if he wasn't spending resources on a keep. But how do you break this now? Like, how do you break 3 town centers, a white tower, a keep, and what's soon to be a Berkshire Palace? And you can understand now why I think English are a bit toxic on this map, because, like, how do you break that? You can't break them in the early game. If you do that, you kind of undersell yourself. 2 town center opening for the English is very difficult to kill. He's going for the forward production buildings. And I like this because the reinforcements were coming in nice and early. But what I don't like for Corvinus right now is that it's not gone for the relics and the sacred sites. And I think it's an oversight. I mean, at this point, he could have actually been activating a timer. Like a win condition timer. And it is going to be Berkshire Palace. So how does he defeat this? There is one option. And it's just kind of mass siege. Maybe mass warrior scouts if he wants to try and torch it down. Because the keeps aren't, what they used to be. Keeps now with the boiling oil is not hugely amazing, but he's going to get it anyway because obviously still very useful. And with just that one gold vein, he's achieved so much. And bear in mind the fact that he just managed to wall up there on the left side, so that's pretty helpful for him. I mean, the thing is, these units will get in, but what are they going to be able to achieve? I don't think they're going to be able to achieve all that much, especially with the units coming in now with the crossbows and the spearmen. He's going to have to go through the town centers, just too many of them. But now that he's going to be in the Imperial Age, or he's already eating the Imperial Age, I'm sure he's going to get enclosures, and that's exactly what he's doing. So, yeah, the reason why this civilization is pretty toxic on this map is because Calp has never needed to go out to the mid-map. And I think that's something you need to consider playing against the English. Like, if someone does this against you, you've got to get those sacred sites, right? Because there's no other win condition almost at this point. Like, how does Corvinus push this? It's actually bonkers. Let's just see what he's up to. He's going to get a keep in the forward position, maybe to stage an attack from. But he's going to need mass siege, and the trouble is going for mass archers. I don't know how I feel about that, because Man-at-Arms is going to shred a lot of what Corvinus has right now. I mean, the thing that really highlights the problem that Corvinus has is the military numbers. Just have a look. 65 military to 13, and there's nothing he can do with them. Like, how does he break through this? He's going to do a bit of damage now. But, like, how does he push this? He's fighting underneath town centers. Spearmen get involved. It's just too easy to counter at this point. So I really do think, having those sacred sites before, like, 5 minutes ago, would have actually given Calp a problem. But at this point, it looks like this is Calp's game to win. He just needs to hold on and make sure that he holds off any push. And that economy is almost double the villages. It's going to be absolutely crazy. Again, no relics picked up by Corvinus, rather. Dives in a bit with his horsemen. Well, his warrior scouts, really, and so far. I mean, they're kind of engaging against a lot of spearmen. It's not ideal. He's going to try and do something, though. Trying to make his way out, but, he's kind of trapped now. He's losing a lot of military, and I think Calp just has to play this methodically, right? He's just dragging the spearmen away. There's no way out for Corvinus, and every second that he stays here, the crossbows are getting damage. He's getting good value as well, and the Berkshire Palace is ranging all of that. I mean, this is a gone army. It's just, like, achieved nothing here for Corvinus, unfortunately. It's because of all the static defenses. Look at the number of barracks, so it is going to be Man-at-Arms, and it's because he's recognised that, well, it's very difficult for the Malians to counter it. I mean, they do have the Mustafadi, but, as we said, Man-at-Arms crossbow, Man-at-Arms longbow is going to be a very difficult thing to deal with. Alright, so we're going to get Rams out. Yep. A lot of them queued up. The thing is, Corvinus doesn't have Imperial Age, so we can't get the lightweight beams. That's be something that would be quite useful to have. So it might be a full Castle Age push. He's behind on timing, that's for sure, and he's going to need to do something about this. I mean, there is a world that he could win here, Corvinus, actually. There is a chance. And that chance is with mass Rams. Because there's not that much in the way of melee units here for Cap to deal with that. He's got a couple of spearmen. He will need to rely on the villagers to torch the Rams down. Question is, how many Rams will be enough? I mean, certainly 5 won't be. But he's getting them from 3 workshops. You can see the wood income is skyrocketing for Corvinus right now. Pretty much done through his main base wood. He never actually took his initial deer, surprisingly enough. That's kind of interesting, because he actually went for the professional scouts tech, and he never actually took his own deer. But he's got the cow boom, obviously, so that's probably part of the reason. We're up to 7 Rams. I think I already know what the title and thumbnail is going to be about. How many Rams does it take to take out the English? We'll have to see. He's got 8 so far. I think he's going to need at least 15. Because, like, there's a lot of these production buildings to get through, and the Rams will have really serious pathing issues to get through this. So we'll have to take these buildings out first, and then the static defenses. And I mean, this is a bit bonkers that Calp is actually being able to hold on for so long in terms of without being pressured. And it just comes down to the tight packed base and the lack of entry points to the base. So actually going to go for 11 Rams. We'll see if that is enough. I mean, he's going to continue to produce more, I'm sure. But he knows he's behind, right? So he needs to start pushing. He needs to push now. Let's have a decent number of units as well. Again, 82 military to 52. I mean, imagine if you had those warrior scouts earlier on now here. So mistakes have possibly been made. A lot of spearmen, though. That's the problem for the softer cavalry. I'm not sure if he's going to manage to do this. He's got 12 Rams in total. 13, 14. All right. this could be a thing. The trouble is those Sofa need to back away from the Spearman. I think Spearman is actually a really nice choice because it's cheap and cheerful. It doesn't really have the gold income necessary to sustain full Man at Arms production. But, you know, the Spearman will still be doing a decent job against the Rams. So 14 Rams, 15, 16 Rams. I mean, that's a decent number. That's a respectable number. That's more than, what did I say, 10? I think it needs to be more than 15, I think I said. Can't remember now. But anyway, we've got 16 of them. I mean, hopefully he gets more because he needs to make this push count. He needs to get out everything. I mean, the other good concern, or the big concern, would have been wood, but he's actually secured the wood on the west side. But yeah. Okay, well, he's made 16 Rams, 17, 18 Rams. Alright, well, he's still pushing in, but holding firm cap. He's struggling with the military numbers, 16. But, you know, Corvinus isn't exactly huge numbers of military either himself, and he's still on 18 Rams. That's actually kind of crazy how they've stayed alive, all of them. They're still doing damage. I wonder if more are coming. He's going to need more. I think he needs to go for a landmark snipe. He needs to go for the town centres. I think he's going to be stuck on the keep, though. The keep is pretty hefty. The Berkshire Palace is almost halfway down, but it's down to 17 Rams, 19 Rams. And we reached 20 Rams. Will it be enough? It's pretty crazy how he's pushing in, though. I mean, the Berkshire Palace is going to go down. I think Kalp just builds up his army back at home, right? He's going to start summoning the villagers, I think. But he needs to stop the push, because this could be actually the end of him. It's a lot of Rams that Corvinus has got, and I think it was 19 Rams in total he had there. Holy smokes, villagers coming out. This is the problem, though. Corvinus doesn't have the ranged attack units, and the villagers will be able to burn these down. He does lose the keep, might lose the Abbey of Kings, but I'm not sure if he gets the main town centre. He's focusing on the houses, though. It comes down to the pathing issues. Again, just not enough number of military. Look at the military numbers for Kalp, though. 40. That military numbers is really funded by the crazy economy. Look how many farms. Oh my god, okay. There's a lot of farms. Holy smokes. He's got ridiculous number of farms. 79 farms. More than that. 82 farms. 82 farms versus 19 Rams. The Rams have been taken down, and do you know what? I hate to say I told you so, but sacred sites. Like, I think he would have... Corvinus might have actually possibly won by now, considering the, you know, if he got the sacred sites. He didn't even bother with the relics either, despite having the map control. So certainly an oversight. I think it would be an option for him to win the game that way, but he doesn't want to play that way, which is, you know, understandable in some ways. He wants to try and get that killer blow, the fancy killer blow, the fancy shots, the fancy way to win the game. But with half the economy, that push was it. I think that it was very difficult to sustain any meaningful push from here with the economy he's got. And villagers coming down. I think it was almost like he's going to try and torch down the keep with the villagers. And don't forget, he's got these villagers to spare. I mean, he's at 180 population versus 100. And but this is a fascinating game to cast and to talk about strategies. The English are looking toxic on this map, but there are ways to defeat them, I think. It's got to be about taking those sacred sites and the mid-map presence, making most of the map control. I think from here, Corvinus is going to have a uphill task of trying to push this again. It does have a decent amount of wood income, but not enough to sustain another ram push, I don't think. Berkshire Palace being built up again, villagers coming out, and the military number's starting to dwindle though for Kalp, but he could just replace, right? This is a concern at this point, because he could just replace what he needs to at this point, without much problem. A lot of villagers though. Going to try and torch this down. He's going to go for the keep. I think he's just using this as military now. And this is a big pushback, because if he loses this keep, there's a lot of production buildings that Kalp will then need to be able to take apart. He's actually going to go for a lot of man-at-arms spearmen. Heavy infantry. 2 mangonels do pop out. Going to try and snipe the villagers. He doesn't actually get that much of a good volley on them. Does have one springald that might start to focus on the mangonels. Keeps the keep alive for now, Corvinus. But yeah, this is a problem. Because that Berkshire Palace is going to be up online very soon. Keep going up. I think that's curtains. That keep is going to be very difficult to push. And he's struggling on wood. I mean, he's got plenty of food and gold. I don't know where Corvinus goes from here. Maybe mass scouts this time? But the spearmen are in large numbers. I think it's got to be Rams again. It's got to be the only way. It does have 2 of the landmarks down already, so just needs 2 more. He's still in the game technically, but the economy is just so strong for Cap. Look how much food he's got. This is an unlimited source of gold. Absolutely bonkers. How much gold he's getting from this. Bear in mind, I don't think he's mining gold anywhere else. 82 farms gives you 800 gold worth almost. A second. He's going to go on the east side. Maybe look to snipe what he can find. I mean, to be fair, he could just move out because like his main base is so well protected by these static defenses. The Berkshire Palace, the keep. This is looking worrisome for Corvinus. It does have a strong push though, trebuchets and the RAMS. He's actually gone for the veteran Musafadi warriors. And I like that move because it would be doing well against the man-at-arms, but I mean these are elite man-at-arms versus castle age units. And here come the there's just not as many RAMS as before, right? There are 3 trebuchets. So I like the switch to trebuchets in a way. You're going to try and snipe the main landmarks, but he needs to keep the trebuchets alive. With 2 mangonels and the Musafadi warriors, that will certainly help. He needs to keep the cavalry away from those spearmen though. And this is actually being pushed back quite nicely, but on the east side, oh no. Corvinus' economy is very, very exposed, and I think Kalpa's going to get a lot of villager kills, and it's not as if he has that many villagers to start with. Berkshire Palace is being dealt a lot of damage with the 3 trebuchets. Will it be enough for of the RAMS on the keep? Villagers dying on the wood line, and I think that's a smart move by Cap actually. They're sweeping behind. Oh my god, he's going to snipe in the he's going to snipe the trebuchets with the infantry. That is perfect work for him. Yeah, stuck in the choke point though. It's not ideal. I think he holds that position, but does he take out the keeps? The trouble is the villagers. He's got villagers to spare there, Kalp. This is a tricky one because the man-at-arms are so tanky in the Imperial Age. I think this army doesn't survive here for Corvinus, even with the Musafadi warriors. I don't think it's going to be enough. On the front lines, the RAMS have all been taken down. The villagers just torch them down, and the pushback is on. He's going to have to try and run with his 5 trebuchets, but the trouble is they're very exposed. It's mainly archers, even with and these are veteran archers against man-at-arms. That is just not going to cut it. As we head into the 29th minute of the game, I think with the trebuchets going down, that's probably going to be the GG. Corvinus missing an opportunity in this game to take those sacred sites, to get the relics. They're still there. And if anything, is actually Kalp actually looking to pick up some of the relics already, which is, I mean, that's kind of unforgivable at this level of gameplay, but he's going to try and hold on for a little bit longer, Corvinus. He's got the trebuchets. It doesn't quite have the armor composition, and I think at this point, Kalp just spams. He spams out units. He's got food production. He's got gold. He could probably use the market just to sell food in any case. And the military number is actually ahead here for Kalp compared to Corvinus. That is not something we've seen in this game before. Where does he go from here? I think he has to go for mass Musafadi warriors. Maybe does go on the west side. Does have gold income on that west side. Trying to hold on now. It's more that Corvinus is holding on to the proxy base, the front base. And there it is. He can't hold off any longer. And well, he taps out. Corvinus missed an opportunity with the sacred sites, but I gotta say, the English are being very toxic on Hill and Dale. It's what they do best though. It's what they're designed to do. I guess you can't really blame them. Hope you guys enjoy this castle game, and see you on the next one.